Veteran Service Program Update by James R. Vale. Since Jim Vale has two columns in this issue of the Bulletin, the same thumbnail photo has been employed for both the Legislative and Veteran Service Program updates. The earlier photo description would also be identical for both. There is no accompanying caption. The VSP update begins. It is well known in the veteran community that veterans can receive compensation for their service-connected injuries, but did you know that VA provides a $101,754 grant for making a home more accessible and safer for veterans and service members with qualifying disabilities? VA funds approximately 2,000 specially adapted housing (SAH) grants annually, which total $120 million. Since the SAH program's inception in 1948, more than 46,000 grants have been awarded, totaling approximately $1.75 billion. An SAH grant may be accessed up to 6 times until the total maximum available grant amount is fully exhausted, which is adjusted annually based on the Turner Construction Index. The SAH grant may also be used by eligible veterans who reside outside the United States. What if your already specially adapted home is damaged or destroyed by a natural disaster? With limitations, after the homeowner's insurance claim, 38 U.S.C. Section 2109 authorizes the VA Secretary to provide additional SAH assistance to veterans whose homes have been destroyed or substantially damaged by a natural or other disaster if a disaster declaration is posted on the FEMA website authorizing individual assistance. The eligibility requirements for an SAH grant are complex and can be found in 38 U.S.C. Section 2101. To qualify for an SAH grant due to blindness, the standard was previously, quote, blindness in both eyes having only light perception, unquote, which is a very high standard. Under the old law, legal blindness didn't qualify for the SAH grant, but it would qualify now for the smaller Special Housing Adaptation SHA grant, which is $20,387. 2 years ago, BVA successfully advocated for the passage of H.R. 3504, Ryan Cools and Paul Benny Specially Adaptive Housing Improvement Act of 2019, now Public Law 116-154. The new law expanded SAH grant eligibility to less severely impaired blinded veterans. Blindness and visual impairment no longer qualify for the smaller $20,387 SHA grant. Instead, these conditions now qualify for the much larger $101,754 SAH grant. Blinded veterans who already received funding under SHA are still eligible for SAH. VA has indicated that each draw from the SHA grant counts as one of the 6 draws from the SAH grant. But there is no dollar-for-dollar offset between these two grant programs. This means that an eligible blinded veteran who used the prior SHA grant can also access the full SAH grant as long as there is at least one draw left. To be eligible for the SAH grant under the new law, a blinded veteran must be at least legally blind and service-connected for the blindness as defined by 38 U.S.C. Section 2101A 2B II. According to VA, these criteria are Diagnostic Code, DC, specific and assigned in percentages based on the VA rating schedule in 38 CFR Section 4.79. The 7 qualifying blindness DCs are 6061, an anatomical loss of both eyes; 6062, no more than light perception in both eyes; 6063, anatomical loss of one eye when rated 70% or greater; 6064, no more than light perception in one eye when rated 70% or greater; 6065, vision in one eye 5/200, 1.5/60, when rated 70% or greater; 6066, visual acuity in one eye of 10/200, 3/60, or better when rated 70% or greater; and 6080, visual field defects when rated 70% or greater. What adaptations would a blinded veteran need to make for the family home to become safer and more accessible? Most blindness-related adaptations fall into these three categories. 1. Improvement to lighting, such as new lighting fixtures. 2. Reduction of glare, such as window tinting and awnings. And 3. Improvements to safety, such as handrails, ramps, security, and intercom systems, and smart home installations. For more information on recommended adaptations for blindness, see VA M26-12 Manual, Appendix B. Please note that VA may approve the purchase of a backup power generator for veterans who live in areas highly prone to power outages and need power to operate critical medical equipment such as a CPAP machine. What is the application process for the SAH grant? Refer again to VA M26-12 Manual. It is very helpful to have a sighted spouse or other family member review the forms and paperwork with the blinded veteran, as this can save hours in the multi-step and paperwork-intensive process. Step 1 is Eligibility Establishment. The blinded veteran must file VA Form 26-4555, June 2021 version. Box 12A is signed by the veteran. The form must be submitted to a VA Regional Office, VARO. The Veteran Service Center at any one of the VA's 56 VAROs will render an adjudication decision that will either establish or deny the veteran's eligibility. Errors are common in SAH adjudications for blinded veterans, as many adjudicators are still applying the old law. If eligibility is not found, it is important not to give up. Instead, please contact the BVA Veteran Service Program for assistance. Step 2 is the initial interview. Here, an SAH agent will meet with the veteran either in person or by phone to discuss requested adaptations and specific needs, review applicable program requirements, and analyze project feasibility and suitability. The SAH agent is there to help the veteran identify needs, explain the grant process, set expectations, and coordinate and maximize the veteran's available benefits. The SAH agent will walk through the veteran's home to help identify potential needs the veteran may not have been aware of or may have overlooked. The SAH grant process is more than just applying for a $100,000 grant. It is also about identifying what is in the veteran's best interest. Please note that it is possible to use the SAH grant simultaneously with the $6,800 HISA Home Improvements and Structural Alterations grant administered by the VHA Office of Prosthetics and Sensory Aids, P&SA, and the $93,356 Independent Living Plan grant administered by the VA Vocational Rehabilitation and Employment Program. Each grant has its own set of criteria and must be applied for separately. The funds cannot be commingled. These programs are discussed during the initial interview. Step 3 is feasibility and suitability. Here, VA must ensure compliance with 38 U.S.C. Section 2101A.3, requiring medical feasibility, which means that the veteran must be currently and successfully living full-time in a housing unit and outside of an institutional setting. Financial feasibility involves VA certification that the cost of the proposed housing unit, including the mortgage payment plus incidental expenses, bears a proper relation to the veteran's present and anticipated income and expenses. The veteran cannot be in mortgage forbearance, bankruptcy, or foreclosure. Property suitability means that the nature and condition of the proposed housing unit must be suitable for the veteran's needs for dwelling purposes. Minimum property requirements, MPRs, if applicable, are discussed with the veterans. Please note further that at present there are no MPRs for blindness. The SAA agent should do what is in the blinded veteran's best interest. Unless the veteran uses a wheelchair, it is not necessary to modify the home to be wheelchair accessible. Step 4 is conditional approval. This step is met when medical feasibility, financial feasibility, and property suitability have all been satisfied. It is the point at which a veteran can begin obtaining work estimates from builders. To avoid a conflict of interest, VA cannot recommend a builder but can assist with resources to help in the search for one. The time between steps 4 and 5 are indeterminate. During this time, the veteran and SAH agent should work together to determine the best needs of the veteran. Step 5 is grant approval. This is the formal approval by VA management. Step 6 is project management. The project has now been given the, quote, okay, unquote, to begin construction and is underway. It is managed by the SAH agent, including processing change orders, dispersing funds to the builder, reviewing compliance and inspections, and, most importantly, setting expectations and consistently communicating with the veteran and the builder. Step 7 is final field review. This is the last inspection once all work has been completed. A, quote, letter of satisfaction, unquote, is signed by the veteran that the contract between the veteran and the builder has been satisfied. However, it does not necessarily mean that the veteran is satisfied with the work, M26-12, Chapter 10.1b. Since VA is not a contracted party, the contract is always between the veteran and the builder. The process of applying for and then utilizing the SAH grant can be a very lengthy and cumbersome one. However, the time and effort involved can pay large dividends. It is best to work with a BVA National Service Officer who can educate the blinded veteran on SAH program eligibility requirements and adaptation guidelines, ensure that the most current version of Form 26-4555 is filled out completely and correctly, submit the claim form, monitor the process of the claim, and, if needed, intervene when the claim goes off track. Please contact the Veteran Service Program with questions or to request more information.